The New York Giants launched the Brian Daboll era on a right foot, defeating the New England Patriots in the preseason opener 23-21. We have some quick hits, some quick takeaways, and more coming up on this special edition of the LockedOn Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to a special edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, and the New York Giants have officially kicked off their preseason, their first preseason under head coach Brian Daboll. And it was a happy ending for the New York Giants in that they were able to win 23-21 over the New England Patriots on a 24-yard Graham Gano walk-off field goal. And on this special post-game edition, I'm going to talk a little bit about observations, things I liked, things I didn't like. And I want to remind you that on Friday, we will have a full show with David Turner. He and I will break down the tape. We're going to take a look at the tape overnight, and then we will have a much more detailed show for you on Friday. But this is just some quick hits for you. So let's get into it. The Giants were vanilla on offense and defense as expected. And it was a mixed bag for both the starting units on offense and defense. So let's start off with the offense. The Giants on their first drive, Daniel Jones played 2 drives, and on their first drive, things were going pretty well until they got into the red zone, or as we've called it in the past, the dead zone. What happened was Daniel Jones tried to connect with receiver Kenny Golladay on a roughly would have been a 7-yard touchdown pass. And Golladay, for whatever the reason, ran a very, very bad route. And for whatever the reason, he just wasn't in position. He wasn't where the ball was thrown to, and the drive stalled. And the Giants had to settle for a 25-yard Gano field goal. Now, Golladay has been hot and cold, mostly cold, I think, this summer. He finished 1 of 3 for 6 yards. He had another pass target, I should say, earlier in the game. This one was thrown slightly in front of him, but I thought it was a catchable ball. And I didn't really think that Golladay made an effort, or as much of an effort as he could have, to haul the ball in. So I thought a very disappointing and uninspiring performance by Kenny Golladay in this preseason opener, who, again, he finished 1 of 3, 6 yards, not what you want to see from your number one receiver. So just continuing onward, in the first 2 series that Jones played, he was sacked just once. I think that was on a play where the tight end missed a block, if I'm not mistaken. It was on the second drive. But the good news is there were no penalties. There were no turnovers. Daniel Jones finished 6 of 10 for 69 yards, an 80.8 passer rating. That's 6 of 10. He probably should have been 8 of 10, in all honesty, because of the 2 drops or the 2 poor plays by Kenny Golladay, which unfortunately is charged against Daniel Jones's record. So overall, a solid effort by Daniel Jones and the first team offense. All right, on defense, it was, again, a mixed bag. I thought Aaron Robinson, the starting cornerback opposite of Adoree Jackson, had a really rough night. The Patriots went after him, it seemed like, time and time again. And it was Robinson who was in coverage on the Patriots' go-ahead touchdown at the time. I believe it was on the second drive the Patriots had. And Robinson, who had been giving up pass completions on that touchdown, he actually held the receiver in the end zone. He got flagged for holding, and the receiver was able to wrestle free and make the reception for the score. And then Robinson at another point drew a taunting penalty. So really not a good night for Robinson, who is, like I said, competing to be that number 2 cornerback opposite of Adoree Jackson. Now, there was a positive drive. Let's talk about the first drive by the defense, which I thought were pretty good. Kayvon Thibodeaux had a solid albeit short performance for the Giants. Now, Thibodeaux, you'll look at his stats and you'll say, oh, he didn't do much. Well, he actually did. His presence resulted in a false start by the offensive lineman lined up across from him. And he also broke up or was instrumental, I should say, in breaking up a pass on a third down to end a Patriots drive. So solid effort by the rookie edge rusher. All right, let's talk a little bit about special teams, which really, if you're looking for the weak spot of the Giants, the coverage teams was it. The punt coverage and kickoff coverage teams need to be tightened up. On punt coverage, the Patriots had a 30-yard return. On kickoff returns, the Patriots had a pair of 25-yard returns. Can't be having that. So that's something that, obviously the Giants are going to have to tighten up. You could possibly say that, it was because, the Giants are moving guys in and out of the lineup. Yeah, I guess you can make that excuse, but bottom line is no matter who's in there, you got to do better than that. You got to play tighter than that. And just real quick, going back really quick to the offense and defensive showings, the Patriots didn't play any of their starters. So I realize you have to take what the Giants did with a grain of salt, but it's something to build on. It's confidence. It's something for them to build on. And I don't think we can sit and dismiss it, to be honest with you, because it was a positive. All right, coming up, I have a few more quick hits on the Giants' 23-21 victory over the New England Patriots. We'll be right back after this quick message. All right, Giant fans, we have more coming up on this special edition of the LockedOn Giants podcast. But first, BetOnline.net is the only place that offers the best information on the latest odds, contests, and player props for all your sports betting needs. No matter what sport you're into, BetOnline.net has you covered. Plus, they offer everything you need to know for live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head on over to BetOnline.net today to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the games start. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'm Patricia Traina, and I'm giving you quick impressions and takeaways from the Giants' 23-21 preseason opening victory over the New England Patriots, the first of head coach Brian Daboll. A couple quick other observations and takeaways. I found it interesting that Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator, decided to call plays from up in the press box versus down on the field. I think initially Daboll had said that the plan was to have both coordinators, Kafka and Wink Martindale, down on the field with him. But I guess at the last minute, Kafka decided he would be better off upstairs. So that's where he called the plays. And, Kafka is still auditioning to be the regular season play caller. And after the game, Daboll did say that he thought Kafka did a good job with the communication and whatnot, but, they've still got 2 more preseason games to sort all that out. Some other players who stood out for their performances. Receiver Richie James had a really good game. Now, coming into this game, the Giants were without Kadarius Toney. They obviously were without Sterling Shepard. David Sills didn't play, Toney, I'm not sure what the problem is. I know he tweaked something in practice earlier in the week. I don't know how serious it is, but Richie James, every time he's gotten an opportunity, he has just looked so good. And in this game, Richie James was simply Johnny on the spot. He had a touchdown on a drive that he actually helped keep alive. What happened was there was a pass on a third down, and I think it was intended for C.J. Board, and it volleyed off of C.J. Board's hands. And Richie James very alertly got into position to snag it before a Patriots defender could come down with an interception. So he helped keep that drive alive. It was a heads-up play, and the type of play that's going to help him make this roster. There were some injuries. We have to talk about the injuries. Shane Lemieux, starting left guard, left the game after I think it was the first series. He had a toe injury, and he was seen in a walking boot on the sideline in the second half. Now, Shane Lemieux, as you know, starting left guard, missed most of last year because of the knee injury. The Giants like Lemieux, but you know what? If you can't stay on the field, then that's a problem. So Lemieux was relieved by Joshua Ezeudu, who coming into the game was listed as questionable with whatever ailment he was dealing with. The Giants haven't exactly been forthcoming with what the players have been dealing with injury-wise. So Ezeudu came in and he filled in the rest of the way. Another guy who suffered an injury on the offensive line was backup center Jamil Douglas. All right, so it just seems like as quickly as the Giants are replenishing their depth on the offensive line, that's how quickly they're losing it. That's going to be a problem. So I would expect the Giants to hold another round of workouts in the coming week to maybe replenish some of the depth, especially if, Lemieux has what could be a turf toe. I don't know that it is a turf toe, but usually that's what that injury tends to be. So we'll have to see how much time he's going to end up missing and if they're going to just have to replenish some of that depth. And the same thing with Jamil Douglas, who left with an ankle injury. And then one final injury that we need to talk about at another position where the Giants could ill afford to really lose any guys. Rookie Cordell Flott suffered a groin strain. All right. Now, at cornerback, like I said, the picture is not clarified yet. It's up in the air with not just a starting job, which it looks like it's going to be Aaron Robinson, but that's not, locked down by any stretch of the imagination. But the depth behind Adoree Jackson, Robinson, and slot cornerback Darnay Holmes is a big question mark. I didn't think anybody really stood out from amongst the depth players. They all had their ups and downs. I mean, there were some plays where they were just running down the field covering Patriots receivers, and they weren't even bothering to look back. And I was kind of surprised they didn't get nailed for, pass interference. But just, a lot of receivers were running free against the depth on cornerback at the cornerback spot. And just based on this one showing, I would not be surprised if the Giants really check that waiver wire hard once all the cuts are made and bring in some additional talent to help out. Of course, 2 more games to turn it around, a lot more training camp practices to turn it around. So, it's possible it could happen, but based off tonight, wasn't too impressed with the backup depth at cornerback. All right, Giant fans. So coming up, the Giants have one more practice that is open to the public. That is on Sunday. So if you are planning or thinking about going to the Giants practice, they do have some walk-ups tickets available. This will be your last chance to see the practice. And the Giants will continue to work in the coming week. They have the Cincinnati Bengals at home next week for preseason game number 2. We should see a little bit more of the starters, I would think, going forward. So overall, preseason game 1, it was a victory, a mixed bag, certainly stuff that they can build on, and certainly a lot of stuff that they need to clean up. Don't forget to check the LockedOn Giants podcast on Friday. David Turner, former NFL scout, and I will be breaking down the game in more detail. That will be done in the morning, and then we'll have to show up for you as quickly as possible. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this quick takeaway. Thank you for tuning in to the LockedOn Giants podcast, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.